and then just see if it comes up on here. And of course it has not. All right, well, we'll send it out later. All right, well, this is COFOH Live Undead. I'm your host, Dan Crozier. I'm so sorry. And with us tonight is Hex Publishers, writer Warren Hammond, Josh Viola, or Viola? Viola, okay.
I'll take it.
All right, you'll take whatever I throw at you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That's really that's a pretty open-ended, invitation there.
I'll see you later.
Okay, yeah. And then Dean Wyant. Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful. Very good.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Hex Publishers, for those of you that don't know, it's a Denver-based publishing house. Focuses on genre content, books, comics. Even have like children's books too that you do with a different label, right?
Yeah.
And then if you don't mind, we'll go down the line. Kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your where you came from, your upbringing, and why you're writing and creating all those fantastic works.
Yeah, well, I'm from New York originally, but I've been in Colorado since 1990. So almost a native Coloradan now. I think so anyway. And I started writing in 2001, seriously. Managed to sell a book in 2003, which was called KOP. Didn't come out until a few years after that, but that was a trilogy. Then I wrote another science fiction novel, kind of a science fiction spy novel called Tides of Mauritania. And then Josh came to me with this idea for Denver Moon, which I assume we'll talk a little bit more about later. But Josh, has his own publishing house, and we had met because, we're both part of the same community. Mm-hmm. But I submitted a few short stories to some of the anthologies that they were doing. And so Josh decided, had this idea for Denver Moon, kind of came to me and said, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
Nice. Excellent.
So I'm Josh.
Viola.
Viola.
Plays Viola.
Yeah. Thanks,
Viola.
Sure. I don't know. I'm not hearing my voice, so.
I'm hearing you pretty loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not a native. I'm close to a native, like Warren. I'm from Nebraska. I moved here when I was 9, almost 10.
Okay.
36 Tuesday. So I've been here.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks.
Youngin.
Yeah. So I've been here most of my life. This is the young guy.
Yeah.
No, but I've been here. I live up in Westminster, and my background in writing, I actually worked in the video game industry.
Oh, okay.
So I was art director for a few licensed games. One of them was Pirates of the Caribbean, and I got to play a little bit in the writing in the video game industry, and I wanted to kind of broaden that. And my first book came out. It's actually published by a music label. It's called The Bane of Yore. And kind of after that process, I thought that I would give publishing a shot. And then I met Dean, actually, a bookstore not far from here, Broadway Book Mall. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to convince him to buy my first book. And then we kind of established a good relationship. And through that process, I got to know a lot of local writers through Dean, and Hex Publishers was born. Nice. And so Hex primarily specializes in genre fiction, so science fiction and horror mostly. Mm-hmm. But we do have an imprint that does kids' books. I wish they were horrific. I want to do that actually.
Yeah.
But we do have some kids' books and some soundtracks. My relationship with the music label, kind of came back full circle. So we've had soundtracks for some books. And Warren contributed some stories to Nightmares Unhinged and Cyber World, 2 of our anthologies. And I was really impressed with his prose, his writing. style and asked if he wanted to work on our latest book, which is a sequel to our first book together, Denver Moon.
Nice.
Nowhere near as glamorous. I'm a New Yorker too, not far from where.
Yeah.
But I've lived in Colorado for 44 years, so I'm almost 44 when I moved here. Not quite. And I've been a book person my whole life ever since I was a kid. I'm a collector, reader, chasing writers around like long getting autographs. So the book selling thing, I sell books down at the book mall. That's all I did.
Mm-hmm.
It's all worked out. And then I started writing, not long ago. So working on it.
And my question for you is, are you a native? Because we're clearly first.
I actually am. Apparently, I'm the only one at this table. So, yeah. Born and raised around Greeley, Colorado area, a little town called Kersey. So I grew up milking cows. I never got the opportunity to tip them. That seemed, because chances are I would be the one to have to let them back out. So, yeah, shoveling manure. Yeah, it was tons of fun. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. So, with Denver Moon, it's essentially sci-fi, collective. It's an anthology, right?
No,
Okay.
it is. So Denver Moon is a standalone series, actually.
Okay.
So it is cyberpunk. I would
Oh,
say.
nice.
I'll let Warren. He's better describing what Denver Moon is.
Yeah, Denver Moon is it's a science fiction series at this point. So there's 2 books so far. The second one is coming out imminently. We'll have a signing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. There's also a comic book series that's been compiled into a graphic novel. And it's based on the story of a detective on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the somewhat distant future. And the basic premise is that Earth is falling apart and these people are on Mars, and she's a detective and investigates a murder or two. But life on Mars isn't quite what so she's trying to figure out I guess I could mention Red Fever, right?
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
so yeah. So the first,
Tell them
yeah, and then at the end, no. So anyway, she's on Mars, and one of the challenges they have there is there's this mysterious disease called Red Fever that causes people to go wildly, violently insane, and so that's kind of her first big case. Is working on that. And learns a lot about her family, learns a lot about the society there, and learns a lot about the history there, and tries to find. I think in the second book, she's trying to find a better future, and maybe starts landing on it towards the end. But I guess that's probably all I should say.
Yeah, just some fun stuff. Her sidekick is her Smith & Wesson revolver. So it's an old family heirloom from Earth that she tricked out and installed with an artificial intelligence, which
nice.
actually carries the memories of her grandfather. So it's kind of weird.
So
but
sentient.
Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
And those are the 2 main characters. Denver, that is the protagonist's name, Denver, and her sidekick Smith, short for the Smith & Wesson.
Yeah.
And there's some cool gimmicks. She's Red Fever. They call her Red Fever. On Mars, everything's red. They kind of have this. There's like this belief that not many people believe, but that those who are infected by it are kind of. It's like a cabin fever to some extent. They're stuck in this little terraformed small city surrounded by red everywhere, and it makes them snap. At least that's what some people believe. But Denver's immune to it to some extent because she's colorblind, and that is a fun little thing that we play with that I think drove Warren insane when it came to the writing process. It's hard to write a book without color.
Oh,
without
okay.
referencing colors.
Yeah, it's written in first person, so she can never describe anything in color because it's written in first person. She's colorblind, and unfortunately, we keep putting color in it anyway, and then have to edit it back out.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to forget that that's one of the rules we have to
Well, at least
conform to.
you're able to catch yourself, right? When you're putting
Well,
in
between
color.
the two of us,
Okay,
between the two
yeah.
of us, we catch ourselves. But I've made a mistake. I don't know how many times you've had that.
It's pretty. It's all good.
Yeah.
We actually found a fun way to include color, but I'm gonna read.
Yeah.
Just get swatches of gray tones.
Yeah.
And reference
Pretty much.
those.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So going back to, so you got this, actually, this Saturday, you mentioned you're signing. That's at, Tattered Cover, 2 p.m. That's at the Colfax location, right?
Correct.
So make sure everybody goes and checks that out. Get your copy of, Denver Moon 2.
Yep.
You'll have other books there too on the
They'll have the first book, the graphic novel,
Excellent.
and I'm bringing actually CD soundtracks to give away to people who purchase the books.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then, recently, back before Denver Pop Culture Con, or however they rebranded, you had that article in the Denver Post. You said you're going to start slowing down. I wanted to see if you could go into that a little bit. Just slowing down just because, running a publishing house, that's a big chore.
Yeah.
That is a huge job. And yet you still get your day job too.
Yeah. Which actually has to do with cows and greedy.
Oh, yeah.
That's another story.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So the plan was, Denver Moon was sort of the last, not the last, but one of the last big projects I had planned to push out through Hex.
Yeah.
And really just wanted to take a break. Last year, I think, as a small press where, I'm involved in every aspect of all the books that I'm putting out. Last year, we put out 9.
Yeah.
And some of those were many of those were anthologies, and so you're dealing with multiple different writers per project. So it's pretty overwhelming, and then the backside behind the scenes. So I was feeling pretty overwhelmed. The plan was to slow down, and then the Denver Post interviewed me. And since then, I've committed to, I think, 4 more projects. So
That's usually how it goes.
yeah. So certainly, I won't ever put out 9 books in a year again.
Okay.
No doubt. This year, obviously, Denver Moon 2. We're trying to push out Jean Stein's 10th book in her series, the Anna Strong Vampire Chronicles, this year. And then we have some anthologies coming out. 2 of which I don't know if I should mention, so I'll kind of keep those in the back burner. But one of them is something that Dean is he pitched, and he's kind of the mastermind behind it. I'll be editing the project.
Sweet.
And that is called Wars.
Don't ask me.
Sci Wars. Sorry.
It's a long title.
Yeah, Sci Wars Classified Cases of Psychic Combat. Sci Wars Classified Cases of Psychic Military Combat Horror.
Yes.
It only takes like 3 or 4 tries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Warren will be contributing to that book as well as a short story.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So how do you go about pitching to your partner, Josh?
He pays me.
He pays you? Oh, okay. That's good. Money under the table. That greases the wheel.
I thought he would say no, actually.
Oh.
I said, okay, I think we're in the car. Well, I had this idea. What do you think? He kind of thought about it for me. I thought for sure he'd say no, but surprisingly, he's like, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So, I mean, psychic military combat, and horror, can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you're dealing with kind of that cross genre of horror sci-fi, which is really prevalent in popular culture. You look at like something like Predator and Alien. Lots of suspense, lots of horror aspects to it. Obviously the sci-fi aspect. What are do you try to include a number of those elements when you're writing, or how do you approach genre?
Well, you can go ahead. You go. Well, I'll let Lauren take it after me. I'll just, for the anthologies, when you're putting one together, you kind of come up with a theme. And you give some pretty specific, but also, ideas that you have as, the person who's putting the book together, like an invitation letter. And then I send them out to writers that I want to contribute. So it's like a paragraph long that says, these are my ideas, what I'd like to see in your story, but I keep it open enough to throw it at the writers so that everything I get back is a little different. Or can talk about his process.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what Josh just described. When I write my own novels, I just write what I want to write. I can have that freedom to choose. But for the anthology projects, they at least the ones I've done with Josh, he announces a theme, usually has the title of the book already nailed. So that gives you kind of a target to aim for. And he'll set out a nice little description of, so for Sci Wars, I don't know, it's probably a paragraph or something. We're looking for all different time periods, past, future, present. But the elements that have to be there are some kind of psychic element and military. And, so then it's just a matter of kind of riffing off that. So at least for the short story I did there, I had a weird idea and I just kind of went with it. Mine's more mine's definitely on the horror side of it. So it's interesting as a writer, you come up with these weird ideas sometimes, and this is one of those ideas that I've had for probably about 2 years, just a little germ. It wasn't a story; it was just an idea, just this weird idea. And then this anthology is coming out. And I'm like, I think I can take that idea and I can take this theme and I can put it together. And it actually helps because sometimes getting the theme gives you a little bit more of a story structure, to hang on the idea. But every time I do a short story, it's a little different. The process isn't always the same. But
I've read a lot of Lauren's short stories. I've published now three or four of them outside of this one. Definitely, this is my favorite by far. It's so twisted, it's really good. It's so unique. So, Sci Wars. Buy it just to read Lauren's story because it's the only one we got so far.
What are you talking? 2020 for that one?
Yeah. Summer.
About a year
About this
from now.
time next year.
Yeah.
Not bad. Yeah. Put it out in 2020, start a whole new decade and everything.
Yeah.
Make it feel more futuristic.
There you go. Yeah. It takes a lot of. So the writers have given until mid-October to deliver their stories, and then it's quite a long process from there because you go with the editing. A little bit of back and forth. Most of the writers I've invited are pretty established, so that's fairly easy. I was actually browsing yours and I have to really kind of make something up. I don't know what to complain about. There's more suggestions to make. It's pretty clean. It's pretty epic. So it's a process. You get the stories, and then there's the editing process, the formatting process, getting the cover art ready. It's quite a few months, many months of work.
Yeah.
So summer is a healthy deadline.
All right, we got some dancers in the audience.
You got a lap dance.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Old man lap dance.
He's paying.
He knows it too. For anyone but it's Mario Acevedo, and he has a reputation for this sort of stuff.
Oh, fantastic.
Underpaid.
Underpaid lap dancer. During the credit process, is there any step that you feel that's more fulfilling that you always look forward to, or is it usually just like getting to the finish line?
For me, it's the final product.
Okay.
I mean, I love the themes and the concepts that we're playing with on these anthologies, so that's fun. I guess that the second best is the final product. What's really cool is when you have a theme and then you get these stories, and it's neat to see what somebody's taken, from a very basic idea and how it's evolved into something as unique as Warren's book. So that's what's most rewarding for me. And then, of course, cashing in the the paychecks.
Yeah.
And then I've got to pay people. So
Yeah. Kind of chips away at that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, better make this guy happy. Yeah. With COFOH, the Colorado Festival of Horror, a couple months back, we put together a coloring book. And the process of like with you and submissions for anthologies, we were getting submissions from artwork pretty much all around the world. I would have to agree that aside from getting the submissions, the finished book is just exemplary. It's such a rewarding feeling. But seeing those submissions come in, no matter the degree of quality, just the fact that they're coming in, was absolutely fantastic. And seeing all these different individuals creating content for themselves, for our project, whatever. Sometimes it was just stuff that was lying around, which was absolutely fantastic. So it made me feel like I'm more engaged with the community. Because really, except for this, I'm more of an introvert. I'd much rather just lock myself away.
Drink
and
some coffee.
Yeah, drink a lot of coffee, listen to a lot of Rollins band, and then just chip away at whatever I'm working on, usually with a chisel.
Yeah. That was cool. I saw that.
Yeah.
Zach Howard's in there too. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, Zach was pretty nice about lending some of his artwork from one of his books that he's done, and he's right now he just wrapped up the second installation of the Cape with Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, and who else do we have? Andy Kuhn had a Frankenstein from Mars, piece that he put in. Yeah, he's currently illustrating Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then had a couple of our other local favorites like Cache Whitman. She's now illustrating Transformers with IDW. So yeah, it's just an amazing amount of talent, outside of Colorado and inside that we were inundated with. It was great. Do you find that you get a lot of local writers when you put out an announcement?
Well, for me, they're invite only.
Oh, okay.
So I know who I'm going to reach out to, which, a large chunk of it, they are local, right? We have Mario sitting back there. Hey, Josh. Mario has contributed to most of them, obviously. Warren, Angie sitting back there. We have a huge, massive crowd, by the way, of about 150 people.
In here? Yeah. Can't you hear it?
Yeah.
Lap dances.
Stephen Graham Jones. Colorado's got some phenomenal local talent, actually, in the writing world, which when I started this, I was truly shocked by that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I didn't expect to discover so many solid and fairly established writers. But then we have some contributors from other parts of the world, from UK, Canada, Australia. But I know, for me, I want to make the process easier on me. So I want to work with somebody who knows the trade and is good at what they do. So I'm reaching out to them in hopes that they agree to participate. And so far, we've been pretty lucky with that.
That's good. That's cool.
I just have to not tell them, who's that I'm involved.
Oh, okay.
It's always a facade. Then they'll say,
Oh, okay.
or Mario. As soon as you mention Mario.
You're the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I love you in Wizard of Oz.
Thanks. I try.
Yeah. Going back to your upbringing and getting started, in your craft and in your art. What are your biggest influences individually?
For me, when I started writing, so I mentioned earlier that I started writing seriously in 2001, and I've read a lot of different genres over my life, but at the time, when I started writing, I was really, 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 really into reading old classic noir. And so I think that probably had the biggest influence on me because it was, those stories, they're very tight. They're not real wordy. They're very lean. And I kind of tried to mimic that when I started writing. And now I can't do it any other way. It's kind of just the way I write now, the way I think, the way I organize my thoughts. So, writers like James M. Cain, Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler. For more recent writers, at the time I was reading a lot of Elmore Leonard, James Ellroy, Jason Starr. So I think I kind of cut my teeth, even though I was writing science fiction books, I kind of cut my teeth on mystery books, dark, gritty mysteries. So I'd say that had the biggest influence on how I put a story together and how I write my prose.
There's so much, I'm a pop culture whore. So movies, probably my biggest influence. There's so much, and my favorites are James Cameron, old James Cameron. And horror, and I like a lot of obscure indie stuff that I actually just picked up. You might have, since you're an artist, you might be familiar with the Quaid Brothers motion stuff. So I just got that collection.
Nice.
I'm stoked about that. So I like, film, a big one for me. Video games, comic books. And there's just so much to list. Novels, books. Probably. I used to read a lot more, but that's probably lowest on the total book for me.
But you got to read for the night job.
Yeah. And music. Really, music plays a pretty huge role in everything that happens. There's always a soundtrack going on, which is why 3 of my books now have had soundtracks.
Nice. That's pretty good.
I liked horror when I was a kid. Stephen King, I read Carrie when it was brand new, his first book, and Jaws by Peter Benchley, and that I'm a '70s kid, so all that stuff was the stuff that I liked. What else? The Exorcist, and I was probably a little too young to be reading all that, but I did it anyway. And my parents were really cool. They were like, read whatever you want. If you can't handle it, put it down. So so it was kind of neat for them to do that too. But I always liked horror, and then the science fiction thing came later. I grew a little, matured a little, but But I like the blend for science fiction like he does. Well, you do too.
What? About these genres, about sci-fi and horror. Do you necessarily differentiate, or do you like specific aspects of those genres? Is that something that you necessarily gravitate towards?
I like violence.
Violence.
So I like the violence and the gore. So
sure.
And when you can blend that with a combat or science fiction or whatever, with a little bit of a psychological twist, that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Something along the lines of like Alien or Starship Troopers. Kind of more satirical.
Like it.
For me, genre-wise, it's sci-fi horror for sure.
Yeah.
I like pure horror and pure sci-fi, but they're both at their best in my opinion. It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
They lend themselves so well to each other. So Aliens and T2 hands down my 2 favorite flicks. And then I like cyberpunk, which cyberpunk's dark.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of horror themes that I think that are, and obviously that is sci-fi.
Yeah.
There are a lot of horror things that are appealing to me that they make use of, like Upgrade, that movie I've been trying to get more in, and everybody that I know to watch for the last 2 years. It's just the best film that I've seen in a while.
That came out last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw that. It's with the actor.
If you saw it, you
Logan.
would know.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
He looks like Tom Hardy.
He was in Prometheus.
Yes.
And I think he had a bit part in the previous Spider-Man movie. He got blown up or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I did see that. That was wonderful.
And it was, but that's a great example. That's cyberpunk sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
The director, which I don't remember his name, but he's the creator of Saw.
Yeah,
Which I'm
James
not-
Wan.
Which I'm not. No.
No?
He's the actual creator. It's a
Oh, okay. That's right. James was the director.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he also had a role in other films that are similar to that, which I wasn't a big fan of Saw personally.
Me neither. Not
So it was
really.
more, but this was different. You know?
Yeah.
But he's a horror guy
Mhm.
who put together a sci-fi film that has
Nice.
those dark horror elements.
Yeah. Upgrade was definitely pretty gritty.
Yeah.
Kind of grisly at some
And it's still,
points.
and it's still cyberpunk too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it all too. You know, when it comes to horror, I really like horror. I like dark. I like macabre.
Mhm.
I tend to shy away from gore. You know, that's
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't dig that as much. But I like I like stories that are just dark. Very atmospheric, dark, gritty, crime-ridden. You know,
Mhm.
those kind of worlds are the ones I most like to write in.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it too as a reader.
You have a running theme in a dark running theme in your stories.
I'm the last one.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's right.
Like,
We don't have to share.
All right.
and that's another thing too. Is like you're with your written work, you're creating stuff from your own point of view, and then people are reading it and coming away with maybe a different point of view. So, do you ever have interactions or conversations with your fan base, with your readers? Comparing perspectives and having those conversations. I guess, to some extent on social media, comment sections, that exists, but you should just delete most of those. But like at signings, do you ever have those type of, interactions?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in person, you try to avoid, Goodreads and Amazon for the negative stuff because people love to troll. But I guess it's not really sharing perspective so much as just hearing what intrigues them about it. I think we've had quite a few experiences with that at some local cons in particular. So that's neat. They're usually asking us questions.
Okay.
So I think they want to get more of the behind the scenes sort of stuff. So that's interesting to just hear what kind of interests them.
Yeah.
I think. And I think we've to some extent, whether we're realizing it or not, you kind of put that in your pocket and think about it for, this people seem to respond well to this, so maybe that's something we play with more later, or but it's neat. I mean, I think we all, not to speak for everybody, but we're all doing this because we hope somebody else likes it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's what any artist is doing. So
That and to exercise demons.
you're doing some different stuff, Dan.
Like I said, if I'm not doing this, I'm introverted someplace else.
Dean's probably in the same.
Yeah. So with cyberpunk, that tends to be an area that I'm not as familiar with. But when I first, was hearing the term, I think it was, back when I was in art school, like ages ago, probably the 70s. I remember friends were introducing me to Japanese films like Tetsuo the Iron Man. I think there's a movie called Nokia 491. That was absolutely bizarre. Lots of throw up in that one. A lot of people were considering that very much cyberpunk. Tetsuo the Iron Man, I thought that was a fantastic live stop motion film. Very innovative and that sort of thing. Especially when it comes to film, it seems like in the Japanese style, it's like if you got limited resources, they can innovation really breathes pretty well into it. So those visualizations of like smoke was actually cotton, and with live actors, doing stop motion and everything. So that that's my takeaway on that is not so much like set in the future. It's like what like the found object stuff that really lends itself to some of the psychological warfare that's going on in somebody's head. Do you end up playing with a lot of those more cerebral things in some of your books, or is it more of like I know we talked about the violence and the action. Is it do you ever get to play around with those kind of landscapes? Sorry, that's a broad question.
I mean, for me with cyberpunk, and I'll keep this short so Warren can. I'm a fan of cyberpunk. So if we're talking about the genre specifically, I would very much classify the first two Terminator films, Terminator in general, cyberpunk.
Sure.
I mean, the first one was really more of a slasher flick, but Matrix, obviously. But speaking of Japanese, I mean, anime. That's a big thing in their culture that seems to have latched on a lot stronger over there than it has here, at least currently. But I would consider, I mean, definitely Denver Moon has hints of cyberpunk, but I would think that wouldn't you classify Pop as
Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's for me, I think like when I think cyberpunk in written form, I think William Gibson, who kind of coined the term cyberspace, right? He was the first one to use the term cyberspace, and so that definitely had the strong cyber element of computers. Computers, and you could jack in and and travel through these computer systems and have all these experiences and stuff. So I think that's like the most literal version of cyberpunk. But I think there's such an aesthetic around it. That because it was written at a time, and like the seminal movie of the time would be Blade Runner. So it's just that kind of dark, gritty aesthetic that the future is going to be ugly and not pretty. And all the neon and the trench coats, and the Harrison Ford, and so a big part of cyberpunk I think became that aesthetic. And a lot of people just kind of play with that in their work, whether it involves anything cyber, literally cyber, is kind of inconsequential sometimes.
I thought, I mean, Matrix obviously is a good, that's like the,
literally cyberpunk.
Yeah. And it's interesting that when I think of cyberpunk, it's, it's the aftermath of what, the hopes and dreams of what tech can bring us, and it didn't work, and it's all terrible, and it's dark, and horrendous, and how they've then taken, after that collapse, they've tweaked it, and how, they're just kind of scraping by using this in a different form. But Tetsuo Iron Man, I have both on VHS actually. Too. That's totally. Not many people know what that is, so I'm glad.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen part 2, but part 1 has always stayed with me. It's just visceral. It gives me nightmares. I love it.
That's crazy. That's cool.
So with like something like Blade Runner too, and Warren, you mentioned this with some of your work. You're really influenced by noir, and to me that's a very noir film too. It happens in a nice microcosm. And then, recently they put out the new Blade Runner. And to me, that's more of a macrocosm. It's so big and expansive, with its landscapes and it's, kind of traversing, different territories. But it's still, in that world, had that dystopian feel. Like some scenes, I was thinking, it's like, well, same world on the opposite end in Australia, and you had Mad Max going on.
What would that be? Like diesel?
Oh, that's
I mean,
that's a good
really,
term.
I think I think that's another subgenre. That's what they consider.
Yeah, because I know there's communities, called Wastelanders that really participate and actually have organized events. Not unlike like the Burning Man. I've got a lot of friends that have built death machines that have gone out to Burning Man and destroyed each other and stuff, and then come back with the pieces.
Nice.
I think they have kids now, so hopefully they're not doing too much more of that.
Bring them up right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. gotta wear the skins of your enemies. It's like, really, Dad? McDonald's is just over here. We don't have to do this. Come on. So, yeah, it sounds like you guys are, constantly doing stuff, moving forward. I know we talked a little bit of, a bit of a slowdown, but you mentioned committed to, other projects in the future. In 5 years, where do you see like Hex Publishers going?
Well, because Warren's working on other things outside of Hex, so
Okay.
also he's just been kind enough to
Yeah.
go along with some of the stuff that I'm asking him to help me with. Which he's already. What is it? Denver Moon 3 is next year, right?
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. You can't see it, but he's got a. He's showing me that.
Yeah, I'm
The
just
knife
kicking him under the table.
I mean, in the next 5 years, Hex will always exist. I've got a lot of content out there that I don't want to ever take away or pull down. But for sure, I've got enough projects coming out to keep me busy through 2021, and we'll, just kind of see where things are. I want to also focus more on just my writing, my personal projects, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to be Hex or not. So,
Okay.
For me, I'll always find a way to be creative, have a creative outlet. I just don't know where that's going to lead 5 years or what the focus would be. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and earlier we mentioned that you have an all ages children imprint too. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That, truthfully, is not going anywhere.
Okay.
So my brother, my niece was born, and everything I do is pretty dark and twisted. And to be honest, it's like I want to be able to share what I do with her.
Yeah.
I don't want it to, Uncle Josh's stuff to always be off limits. So that was a big inspiration. I wanted to do something cute and fun, and so I put out a children's book, which I dedicated to her, and she was kind of the motivating factor there. And then I also, one of the artists that contributed to that book, Lindsay Bell, Aaron Lovett also contributed to that one. But Lindsay, she's a phenomenal children's book artist, and she had this idea for a book called The Zoo's Secret, which Angie edited. It was really cute and beautifully illustrated. So I thought, we're working together on Boomer and Friends, which is the one I did for my niece. I'll publish that.
Cool.
But I don't plan to expand on that. I will say there are two mediums though for Hex, in the darker realm of things I am currently looking very heavily into, and one that I wouldn't mind playing with. You mentioned one already, because you guys did it, but a coloring book, like a horror coloring book. But I also want to do a pop-up book. Very
yes.
badly. So it would be neat to find some projects for that with Hex. I have an idea. What I'd like to do with the pop-up book is an anthology with different writers, limited because they're and I found some potential people to work with me in the construction of the books, but it would be like flash fiction from different writers under a theme. So each page pops up, and one writer wrote this paragraph that kind of details the illustration that's their book. So
that sounds absolutely fantastic. I know there's a local, small press publisher that does their own pop-up books.
Yeah, we might be talking about this.
Excellent. Yeah, that'd be a great way to collaborate.
If it works out.
Yeah, most definitely. If not, it's all right. Work from scratch, figure it out. Nothing like trial and error. But that sounds fantastic. Yeah, Dean, are you? What are you going to be doing in 5 years? Yeah.
I have no idea.
You'll be
Tag along
21?
with him, still probably.
Tag along with him?
Yeah.
I'll be visiting him at the
The old folks home? Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm a jerk to everyone else.
Stop that, Josh. He's in my age group.
Up it a little bit. No, but I'd like to write, but learning from these guys, Warren really helped me with the story I just did. So, I enjoy writing. I enjoy books. I enjoy authors and people I hang out with. So, continue to do all that. And retirement's probably not too far around the corner, so it'll give me some more time to focus on.
Oh, cool.
I didn't think that there were such a thing as like literature groupies, but I think Dean is like he's really supportive. He goes to everybody's events, and whether they're local or larger. And so, yeah, that's really how I think we all got so connected. Dean was like that cog.
Nice.
in the larger piece.
So you end up being the glue.
Well, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So yeah, as we start winding down, where's a good place to go find your works, Warren?
All my books are available via Amazon. They're also available through Ingram still? No, just through Amazon. Okay, just Amazon. Amazon.com. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a big website,
Yeah,
and you can buy books there. So.
Just like Warren. Well, Denver Moon's available through Ingram. So
Yes.
but yeah, Amazon and hexpublishers.com. So all of the Hex books are available there with kind of like some snazzy extras you can't get through Amazon, including the soundtrack. And we give I usually give the ebook along with the purchase of the physical book and
Oh, cool.
merchandise like T-shirts and stuff like that. So hexpublishers.com.
Nice. So you're able to read it on all platforms. That I didn't know.
Mhm. Oh,
Nice.
yeah. I'm a big fan of the physical.
Mhm.
I like having the book in hand. We try to do fun stuff with that. But yeah, ebooks are obviously available as well. So when you purchase a paperback copy through Hex, you get that ebook for free.
Nice. Yeah, I noticed in the comic book world, there's a number of startup companies that when they actually their model is more of like Netflix, where their whole limited series is available in the floppies, also in the graphic novel condensed form, and then digital. However, whatever way you want to receive it and participate with it, it's in that format.
Right.
So that's great to know, because I think a lot of, well, especially on my end, I usually just present the floppies and then I'm done. Whenever I publish something, but I don't realize or take the time to really lay everything out in all these different formats that people would prefer.
And speaking of that, I didn't mention it, but Denver Moon, the comics, and Tooth and Claw, our other Hex's other comic, obviously are available in print and digital, but through Comixology as well.
Nice.
So, that guided process was pretty neat. So.
Comixology, another Amazon company.
Oh yeah, it's Disney and Amazon. That's what the world's going to be.
Woohoo!
As
Yeah.
far as entertainment.
What are you doing in 5 years? Well, we're working for one of them.
Yeah, we're working for one of those. Either way, it's a warehouse someplace.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, and then you have, just to remind everybody out there, you have the signing this Saturday at 2 p.m. at Tattered Cover on Colfax, right next to the Sea Center. So make sure you come out with that. I have Denver Moon 2 available, and then Denver Moon, and then some of the comic books, right?
Yep. And then Saturday, after this Saturday, we'll be at 2nd and Charles in Littleton from 1 to 3 for Denver Moon signing as well.
Nice. So make sure to come out for that. We'll repost this Saturday's event on our Facebook page, and put up links to the website. Warren, if you want to send us any links, we're happy to post them as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Dan Crozier, here with these fine gentlemen from Hex Publishers. Thanks for watching and paying attention and listening to all my gibberish. These guys are actually the well-spoken bunch. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.